The Mughal Empire was at its absolute peak, and it often ruled with an iron fist. Standing against this was the Sikh faith, led by the Gurus. But even in the middle of all this turmoil, there was this one little sanctuary of peace.
And in this sanctuary, we meet the sons of the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh. They were known as the Sahibzaade, the princes, Ajit, Jujhar, Zorawar, and Fateh Singh. And you have to picture them. Their childhood was filled with all the simple joys you can imagine: horse racing, learning, and so much family love. It was truly a beacon of light in a world that was getting darker by the day.
You can just feel the love in this family. Their grandmother, Mata Gujri, she raised them on stories of faith and incredible courage. And this one thing she said to young Jujhar, it's just so full of love. But at the same time, it kind of foreshadows the warrior path that was waiting for them. A path they would all have to walk much, much sooner than anyone could have known. Because that golden childhood, that peace, it just wasn't destined to last. The Guru's influence was growing, and that was seen as a major threat. So an alliance formed between the Mughal forces and some local hill kings, all with one goal: to extinguish that light burning in Anandpur Sahib. For 6 long months, the fort held out. Can you imagine? But eventually the rations ran out. Starvation was a real threat. So an offer was made. The attackers swore on their holy book, the Quran, that they'd give everyone safe passage if they just left the fort. The promise was accepted, but it was a lie, an absolute betrayal. The second the family evacuated, they were ambushed. And in the chaos of battle, right on the banks of the flooded Sirsa River, the family was tragically torn apart. And right there, at the riverbank, the 4 brothers shared one final desperate hug. They had no idea it would be the last time they'd ever see each other. The 2 older princes went with their father. The 2 younger ones went with their grandmother. They were parting, never to meet again. Guru Gobind Singh, with his 2 elder sons and just a handful of followers, managed to take refuge in this small, hastily built mud fort in a village called Chamkaur. But the army chasing them, it was vast. It was relentless, and it quickly surrounded them. Okay, I just want you to let this number sink in for a second, because the scale is almost impossible to comprehend. Inside that tiny fort, there were just 42 people. Outside, an army estimated to be nearly 1 million soldiers strong. 1 million versus 42. The odds weren't just long, they were completely non-existent. There was no way out.
Faced with this impossible reality, the eldest son, Ajit Singh, and remember, he's only 17 years old, he goes to his father. He doesn't ask for an escape plan. He asks for permission to fight, to ride out and face that 1 million-man army, knowing full well it meant certain death.
And then, after watching his older brother ride out and achieve martyrdom, 14-year-old Jujhar Singh steps forward. Just 14, he makes the exact same request, not with arrogance, but with this humble, steely resolve to follow in his brother's footsteps and to sacrifice himself for his faith. Can you even begin to imagine this as a parent? Guru Gobind Singh personally armed his own sons and sent them into a battle they could not possibly win. He watched them fall, one after the other. And in that moment of unimaginable loss, he knelt down and he thanked God for allowing him to return what was his in the first place. Meanwhile, the other half of this heartbreaking tragedy was unfolding. The 2 youngest princes, Zorawar Singh, who was 9, and Fateh Singh, who was only 7, were with their grandmother, and they were betrayed by a former servant they trusted. They were captured and handed over to Wazir Khan, the governor of Sirhind. And the cruelty here is just staggering. Wazir Khan offered these little boys everything: wealth, status, an easy life. All they had to do was convert to his religion. But their reality? It was the Thunder Borj, a cold tower completely open to the harsh winter winds, where they were left with no food, no water, and no blankets, left to freeze and starve. So they're brought before the governor's court, these 2 children, and they're given a final, stark choice. A choice that would have terrified even the strongest of adults: convert or die. Their response was not one of fear. It was pure wisdom, far beyond their years. They looked at the court and essentially said, "Our grandfather was martyred to protect another religion's right to exist. How could you possibly ask us, his grandsons, to abandon our own? Think again." Wazir Khan was enraged by their defiance. He couldn't break them, so he delivered his sentence. A punishment of such unimaginable cruelty. The 2 young boys were to be bricked up alive inside a wall. As the Masons began their horrific work, the boys showed no fear. They stood there calmly, reciting Gurbani, their holy prayers. The wall rose higher and higher, yet their voices never wavered. They just kept praying. Until, finally, the last brick was laid, and there was only silence. So in the space of just a few days, Guru Gobind Singh had lost all 4 of his sons. But their sacrifice, it wasn't an ending. No, it was a foundation for what was to come. And in time, justice found its course. Wazir Khan was eventually killed in battle. The Nawab of Mallarkotla, the one person in court who had bravely spoken out against the execution. His lineage received a blessing that protects it to this very day. And even those who showed small acts of kindness, like Modi Mehra, who risked everything just to bring the children some milk, they are remembered as heroes and martyrs. To give you a sense of the immense reverence their sacrifice inspired, their final rites could only be performed after a follower named Todar Mal paid a truly astronomical price for the small piece of land. He had to cover the entire area with gold coins stood vertically. Just think about that. That's how much it meant to honor them properly. When the Guru heard about the martyrdom of his youngest sons, he is said to have plucked a weed from the ground and prophesied the empire's downfall. Their sacrifice became the spark that ignited a fire, shaking the very foundations of Mughal rule, and inspiring a fight for justice that would last for generations.
Okay, so let's just pause and take stock here. In the span of just a few days, Guru Gobind Singh has lost all 4 of his sons, his own mother, and pretty much his entire army. He's hiding out in the jungle, and what does he do? He declares victory. A victory!
He writes this letter to the emperor, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not a plea for mercy, it's not a surrender, no. It's called the Zafarnama, which literally means the epistle of victory. He completely redefines what winning means. It's not about survival or holding land, it's about standing by your principles no matter what.
But the story doesn't just end there. A few years later, a disciple named Banda Singh Bahadur gets an army together, marches on Sirhind, and takes the city. And Wazir Khan, the governor who ordered the executions, was killed in battle. And in a twist that's almost poetic, the soldier who delivered the final blow was also named Fateh Singh.